Researchers thawed a microscopic animal from Siberian permafrost. It moved, fed, and reproduced. The frozen material around it was dated to roughly 24,000 years ago, when mammoths still walked across the region. Either an animal survived longer than recorded civilization, or an ancient life experiment produced a result that still needs another laboratory to confirm it. Both possibilities are worth reaching. But before we reach number 1, 7 other animals show how far biology can bend. Number 8. Antarctic icefish. The water around Antarctica remains cold enough to freeze the blood of an ordinary fish. Antarctic notothenioids avoid this with antifreeze glycoproteins. These molecules bind to tiny ice crystals and stop them from growing through the blood and tissues. One branch, the crocodile icefish, went further. Its blood is almost transparent because adults do not produce functional hemoglobin, the red protein most vertebrates use to carry oxygen. Cold seawater holds more dissolved oxygen than warm water, and the fish evolved large hearts, wide blood vessels, and high blood volume to circulate oxygen dissolved directly in plasma. This is not a general upgrade. Pumping large volumes of thin blood costs energy, and warming Southern Ocean waters threaten the conditions that make the system possible. The icefish survives because its heart, vessels, blood volume, and environment all compensate for the missing pigment. It did not evolve better blood. It rebuilt the rest of the body around having worse blood. Number 7. The Antarctic midge. Antarctica's largest permanently land-dwelling animal is a wingless fly only a few millimeters long. That sentence says more about Antarctica than it does about the fly. Belgica antarctica spends most of its life as a larva in moist patches of soil, moss, and algae. It tolerates freezing, long winters, severe dehydration, and large changes in salinity. Rather than preventing every ice crystal, the larva uses protective sugars and stress proteins to reduce damage, while much of its body water is lost or frozen outside its cells. Its adult life lasts only days. Wings would be dangerous in Antarctic wind, so the insect has none. It stays close to the ground, mates, lays eggs, and finishes the assignment before weather removes the option. The continent gave it cold, dryness, salt, and wind. The midge answered by becoming tiny, wingless, and difficult to remove from the ground. Survival did not make it grand. It made it extremely hard to inconvenience. Number 6. The wood frog. In autumn, a wood frog hides beneath leaves instead of escaping below the frost line. Ice begins forming around its organs. Its eyes turn cloudy. Breathing stops. The heart stops. For weeks or months, the frog appears dead because most normal signs of life have been temporarily removed. As freezing begins, the liver releases enormous amounts of glucose. That sugar enters tissues and helps keep ice from forming inside cells, where sharp crystals and dehydration would destroy them. Ice is allowed to accumulate mainly outside the cells. The animal's metabolism falls to an extremely low level until warmer conditions return. During thawing, core organs recover first. The heart begins beating, breathing resumes, and the frog eventually walks away. In Alaskan populations, individuals can tolerate body temperatures near -12 degrees Celsius. The frog survives not by resisting all ice, but by deciding where ice is allowed to form. That distinction separates controlled freezing from a dead frog in a block of water. It does not defeat winter. It gives winter restricted access. Number 5. The painted turtle. A painted turtle can spend winter beneath an ice-covered pond with no access to air. At low temperatures, some adults survive 3 or 4 months with essentially no oxygen. The turtle suppresses its metabolism until cells require only a fraction of their normal energy. It then relies on anaerobic glycolysis, which can make energy without oxygen but produces lactic acid. In a mammal, that acid load would quickly become destructive. The turtle uses its shell and skeleton as chemical equipment. Carbonate buffers released from the mineralized shell help neutralize acid, while lactate can be stored in the shell itself. The shell is armor, mineral reserve, lactate container, and in practical terms, a large antacid attached to the animal. Cold is essential because it reduces energy demand. At warmer temperatures, survival time falls sharply. So the turtle's superpower is not holding its breath. It is slowing life down until several months feel metabolically affordable. Number 4. The immortal jellyfish. Turritopsis dohrnii is called the immortal jellyfish, which is excellent branding and incomplete biology. Most jellyfish develop from a stationary polyp into a free-swimming adult medusa. Under starvation, injury, or other stress, Turritopsis can reverse that direction. The medusa collapses into a cyst-like stage, its cells are reorganized, and it forms a new juvenile polyp. That polyp can grow a colony and release new medusae. The process involves cellular reprogramming and changes in cell identity. In laboratory conditions, the cycle can be repeated. This means the animal may avoid death from aging by returning to an earlier developmental stage. It can still be eaten, infected, or physically destroyed. Potential biological immortality is not practical invincibility. The animal may escape aging by becoming young again, while remaining perfectly available to anything hungry nearby. Number 3. The naked mole rat. Human brain cells begin failing quickly without oxygen. Naked mole rats live in crowded underground colonies where oxygen can become scarce and carbon dioxide rises. Their physiology is built for that bad air. In experiments, naked mole rats tolerated 5 hours at 5% oxygen. Under total oxygen deprivation, they lost consciousness, but recovered after exposures lasting up to 18 minutes, a duration that was fatal to mice used for comparison. Part of the response is extreme energy reduction. Heart rate and metabolism fall. More strangely, the brain and heart can use fructose through pathways that bypass a regulatory bottleneck, limiting ordinary glucose metabolism. That allows anaerobic energy production to continue under conditions where mammalian tissues usually run out of options. This does not mean naked mole rats live without oxygen indefinitely. It means a mammal evolved an emergency metabolic detour that buys time when normal glucose use begins to fail. A body shaped like an unfinished sock is carrying biochemistry that human organs would find extremely useful. Number 2. Tardigrades. Tardigrades are microscopic animals with 8 legs and the posture of a vacuum cleaner bag that has become self-aware. When conditions deteriorate, some species pull in their limbs and enter a dehydrated state called a ton. Metabolism falls to barely detectable levels. Protective molecules stabilize proteins and membranes as water disappears. In this state, tardigrades can survive extreme drying, freezing, high pressure, radiation, and even direct exposure to the vacuum of space. In a European Space Agency experiment, some revived and reproduced after orbital exposure, although unfiltered solar ultraviolet radiation killed many of them. The details matter. Not every tardigrade species survives every extreme. Active, hydrated animals are far more vulnerable than dried tons. Claims that they can live in boiling water or survive any radiation dose usually remove exposure time, life stage, and recovery rate from the story. Tardigrades are not indestructible. Their real ability is more interesting. When ordinary life becomes impossible, they reduce the amount of ordinary life still happening. Number 1. The frozen rotifer. Betyloid rotifers are microscopic multicellular animals known for surviving, drying, and freezing. In 2021, researchers reported reviving one from a core of Siberian permafrost. Radiocarbon dating placed the surrounding frozen material at about 24,000 years old. After thawing, the rotifer reproduced by parthenogenesis, creating a clonal culture without mating. Genetic and morphological analysis placed it in the genus Adinetta. Laboratory descendants also survived controlled freezing, supporting the idea that this lineage possesses effective protection against ice damage. The age belongs to the surrounding sediment, not to a tiny birth certificate attached to the animal. The report involved one exceptional isolate, and later researchers have argued that independent confirmation is still needed. Ancient life research has to treat contamination as a serious possibility. That does not erase the result. It defines exactly what has and has not been proven. Even the cautious version exposes the shared trick across this list. Survival is often not heroic resistance. It is controlled surrender. Stop the heart, drain the water, suppress metabolism, change fuel, reverse development, and wait. Humans survive by holding temperature, oxygen, circulation, and chemistry inside narrow limits. These animals survive by moving those limits or suspending the processes that depend on them. They do not remain normal inside impossible conditions. They become temporarily less alive, differently alive, or young all over again, then continue when the environment becomes negotiable.